to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
I'm me. I'm Robbie.
People listen to the audio version like, what the fuck are they talking about? Yeah, Rob has a very, like, I wouldn't even say colorful, because most of it's black and white like a cookie. But it's like... It's black and white with a bunch of Mario things on there, so we're just going with it here because we all grew up loving Mario. Who didn't love Mario?
Yeah,
except the
Mario,
movie. I'm sorry,
Luigi.
I'm still not high in the movie thing. I'm sorry. You need an Italian accent to be a true Mario. I can't get past that.
Which one are you talking about? Super Mario Bros. Or Super Mario Brothers from when we were kids?
Well, in all fairness, they both sucked. For being honest,
the Chris Pratt one wasn't too bad.
No, I
Let's not be harsh.
need the Italian accent. I need the Italian accent. Though Jack Black was spectacular at that.
So was Charlie Day okay? Jack Black was amazing.
Jack Black was amazing. All right.
Was Charlie Day okay being Luigi?
Deo.
Because he didn't have an Italian accent either.
Oh, I know. They both need accents. You need accents. I'm sorry.
Well, they're from Brooklyn. They modernize it.
Yeah. Italian Brooklyn.
Yeah. There's a lot of those. And they walk around like Tommy DeVito.
Exactly. That's what I expect. Okay. All right. So today, guys, we have the big boys to talk about. The offensive tackles. The biggest group by far in the NFL draft. And I just mean poundage-wise because they are just big boys here. We're going to the top 15 here for you guys because honestly, we were thinking about going just top 10, but it's like you go into top 10. This is such a tackle-heavy draft, and it's crazy. All these years we needed tackles. People are like, oh, it's not a good tackle draft. It's not a good tackle draft. It's not a good tackle draft. Well, guess what, guys? It's finally a good tackle draft. I don't know about you, but I'm goddamn sick and tired of drafting tackles.
Yeah.
I don't want to tackle this time. Let's keep what we got. Like with the free agency there. We got Andrew Thomas, obviously. We got Luminor. But I'll say I don't think it's out of the question though. If the right guy drops our spot there, it wouldn't shock me at all if the Giants go, you know what? We didn't really plan on drafting a tackle here, but
how do you pass up on this guy?
This guy is available, and I didn't think he would be. That kind of scenario, I can so see that happening. So let's break into number 15. I like the picture we have him like this. It's like he's at church. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
So Christian Jones out of Texas, 23 years old, turns 24 in May. So he's going to be a little bit of an older rookie there. So 6'5", 330 pounds. So nice size there. Was a right tackle in 23. Oh, wow. Was a right tackle in 23 and 22, was a left tackle in 21. So he has played both sides, but did play much better as a right tackle. Played 13 games in 22 and 23, had a 75.2 PFF grade there last year. Pros-wise, good size, obviously, like we said, 6'5", 330 pounds. That's prototypical there. Long arms, explosive, great run blocker. This is really, really, if you're going to draft him, you're drafting him for his run blocking ability. Good anchor overall. As far as cons wise, he's got some issues with speed rushers specifically. He doesn't have too much issue with power rushers. Like I said, he's got a good anchor. Once he plants those feet and steps there, that's his spot. But if you got a speed rusher that can get off to the side of him pretty quick, that's where he has issues.
It's his weak guys.
Yeah, and it also the hand placement issues there. He doesn't have the best punch. What I mean by that, and I'll go over a couple of the terms we're going to talk about here because honestly, these are offensive line specific. So if you guys don't listen to us regular, any of you out there, you might not know what we're talking about there. So anchor, what I mean literally like you're planting your feet like an anchor in the ocean at that point. You're not moving. That's your spot. That is very important
You may
in a lot
sway like
of
a
stuff.
boat, but
Yeah, and that's a good, actually, very good analogy too, because you do have some guys that will shift a little to the side or whatever that it's a need to at that point, but for the most part, their feet aren't leaving the ground. As far as hand placement and that punch, it's just simply that. When you notice when an offensive lineman gets off there, off the whistle there, they're pop immediately, and hands are right up at that point. And having that good punch, be able to set a guy back, even that split tenth of a second, even is a huge advantage in this kind of game here. So, but listen, Christian Jones, he's a right tackle specifically. I don't think you want to play him a left tackle because of the issues he has in pass protection. The big thing is you got to look at the tape and go, can I fix this? Can I make this guy into a decent, pass protector at that point enough to get by? And if you can, you're going to like him. And if you can't, you're probably not going to like him at that point. I got him as a round 4 guy. I think that's where he's going to end up being there. And honestly, if he was any other draft, he'd probably be a little higher. And you're going to hear a lot of that probably too, to be very frank, because there's guys going in the second round this year that probably be first rounders most years, just because it's that deep of a class here. This is definitely one of the better spots here in this draft. All right. On to number 14. All righty. Matt Gongalvis out of Pittsburgh. Left tackle in 23. Split some time at left tackle and right tackle in 22. He did 59 snaps at left tackle and 6 snaps at left guard in 21. So he's been around a few different spots there. But left tackle is kind of where he settled in at. 6'6", 320 pounds, 23 years old. Played 13 games in 22, just 3 games in 23 there with a 72.2 PFF. What's a little scary on him and what puts him so low, excuse me, is we don't know too much on the injury. It was undisclosed lower body injury, which caused him to miss most of the season. Obviously not the best PFF grade either on the year, but again, 3 games. I'm not going to crucify somebody for that. I'm going to look at his tape in 22 as well and kind of look to see where he was at there. And it was much better tape. He's quick to get off the snap. He definitely has some balance. Definitely has good balance and is a very physical player. He does have some footwork and some hand issues. So the big reason why this guy can come out even in a year where he didn't play too much is because he has the size and he has what you can't teach. There are guys who are quick off the snap and have those kind of reflexes, and there are guys who don't. He's in the guys that do category. There's guys who are physical and nasty by nature, like you really want out of an offensive lineman. And there's guys that just don't have that personality. Again, he goes in the have category. So you got a guy that has those kind of traits, and you got to sit there and go, okay, footwork issues, hand issues, this is all technique. I can teach this.
Yeah, well, the one thing you got to worry about, like you said, it was the injury that was lower half, wasn't disclosed. Was it on his ankle? Was it on his foot? Is it something that might affect actually him learning how to have better footwork? Because he might be a little shy coming off the gun, first time playing, going to the next level.
Keep saying the word gun, he's going to get shy, that's for sure.
Oh, damn.
Damn.
Oh. Well, I guess that depends where he gets drafted.
Yeah, and definitely you're right in the medical stuff. You have to find out what happened exactly. You have to get all the information on how it healed and everything there. Like I said, it's very ambiguous, the injury, which is always a little scary to me. But again, he's got the natural abilities that you can't teach. It's just a matter of, does the medical work out? And do you feel like you can teach him the stuff that he doesn't have down? And if he does, he's a project going in. He's not a guy you're going to start day one. You're going to probably want to sit him on the bench for a year at that point to try to get that stuff fixed. I have him as a round 3 grade overall. I think that in the right scenario, again, assuming he's healthy and there's no health issues, in the right scenario, he could be a starter even before the year is over, depending on how quick of a learner he is and how good of a teacher he gets. So, depending on what scenario he walks into, if he was in the Giants, he'd be throwing away off the bat. You get a player, on a team where half your offensive line gets injured. Yeah, you might be starting a little sooner than expected.
Yeah, he goes to somewhere like the Patriots or the Eagles where they draft ahead. He might be sitting for a year, which might be right, but like he might also drop to the 4th because once, like you said, this spot is there's a lot of good talent in this draft at this spot, but also with the injury, we have to find out what's going on.
Oh, with that medical, dude, he could drop to like a 5th or 6th round if it's that bad. I mean, you could have. I mean, there's been guys talking, and I think they're freaking crazy when they talk about it, but Michael Penix being undrafted because of his medical. This guy kind of falls to that. I've heard it, Drew. Seriously, I have. This goes just crazy. Oh, I don't disagree. It's stupid, and somebody will pick him up. But this guy goes in that kind of category. Like, if he has a bad medical, yeah, you're gonna be hard pressed to find somebody who wants to get him, and you can't blame him at that point. But assuming everything checks out, he's going to be a project somebody's going to want to pick up. That's what it boils down to. So, yeah, especially for a guy who's played on both sides, even if he doesn't have him as a swing tackle eventually, it's a 3rd round pick or so, unless he falls again, unless he falls like as a medical. You know, if you can get a swing tackle at a day 3, yeah, that's not a bad move. Everybody's looking for that great swing tackle. Who doesn't want that? So,
100%.
All right, numero 13. Probably the most ironic name ever for an offensive lineman. Dominique Puny. I literally had to I'm like, look at the double take. Like, really, is this the correct pronunciation of this name? Puny?
He dominates.
Puny. Yeah, Puny's dominating over there.
Yeah.
Look at Puny go. Played the last 2 seasons over at Kansas. Prior to that, played a few seasons over at Central Missouri from 18 to 21 there. 6'5", 320 pounds, 24 years old. So he's definitely one of the seniors at that point. There's a little bit of question on position for him as well. And I'll give you guys those as we kind of pop up here, because there are some guys I took off this list entirely saying, this guy's going to be a guard. There's no doubt this guy will be a guard. And there's other people that I'm like, I play tackle. I could see them going either way. And if they play tackle, I'm going to put him at tackle at this point, and Puny definitely goes into this kind of range. He may translate to a guard, and I think he might even go to a spot where they start him at guard, develop him a little more, and then eventually move him back out to the outside for tackle. Or there might be somebody who goes, you're a really good guard. Let's just keep you where you're at. He took a lot of guard snaps at the Senior Bowl. He even took some center snaps at the Senior Bowl, which to the best of my knowledge is the first time he's ever done that. So, he's kind of open to you let me know where you want me. I just want to be wanted. You know what I mean? Like, he's that kind of player. Like, he doesn't seem to care where he plays. Now, at the same point, what the great thing about that I love is this is a guy that, again, if you play all over the place, you open yourself up to more options. And I love guys who are very diverse in the offensive line that could play a bunch of places. So now you have a guy literally who could potentially play anywhere on the line. I do think guard is where he's best at, and I think that's where he should end up. But again, it's not my call. And he was played tackle at college. And I think somebody's going to draft him with that kind of potential. And I think it's going to be better where if he goes to a team where he plays guard, maybe just pops out there every so often during injuries or whatever to tackle, because I think he can play both positions. But like I said, he played tackle in college. We're going to scout him as a tackle. So left tackle this year. Did play left guard the year before as well. So again, even in college, he played both. 13 games in 22. Played 13 games also in 23 with an 80.6 PFF grade. That's both the seasons over there in Kansas. Pros: athletic, quick, good anchor, and good balance at that point. So, we talk about the pop and the hand placement there with the offensive linemen. That's one of the things you got to look at as well. It's not the only ones trying to pop at that point. Defensive linemen are trying to punch them as well. So, but this is the guy who's got that kind of good anchor and doesn't lose his balance very well, very hard there. The cons wise, one of the biggest cons for him is edge setting. And I hate to make this comparison because I don't mean to disrespect Puny here, but I'll just kind of give you guys what I mean by that. Like, you ever see on pretty much a almost play-by-play basis where Evan Neal is playing and the guy goes around him to the outside and there's nobody there to stop him because he's the edge. He's the line of defense there. That's what I mean by edge setting. He's not the best at edge setting. He's also got a little bit of issues with his hand placement during his punches as well. So you want to get it. You want to get like right underneath the shoulder pads. So when you pop him at that point, it kind of lifts that up and kind of pushes him back a little bit and helps. It's also kind of a legal way of holding. He's not very good at that hand placement. It's not horrible, but if he could adjust it just slightly and get a better pop at that point, it'd be a whole lot better scenario. This is another guy I think is a round 3. And again, I think round 3, someone's going to probably draft him more to be, again, a guard with the potential to eventually go outside again to the tackle position with a year or 2 work behind him.
Yeah, that's again, a fair assessment.
Depending on how he does a guard, he might be like a Pro Bowl guard. Like, I'm not messing this up.
Yeah, right.
It depends on how good he does, but yeah, or how bad you need a tackle. All right.
Yeah.
Next up, number 12. All righty. 12 is Blake Fisher out of Notre Dame. Not to be confused with the Hunchback. 6'6", 330 pounds. Here's the craziest thing. He's 20 years old, guys. 20 years old. Now he does, as we tape this on the 22nd of March.
I was going to say, he's got a birthday.
He's got a birthday coming in 3 days to turn 21. But god damn, that's young. So
turns 21 in 3 days. How much booze can that guy tackle? Tackle. You see what I did? Tackle at 3.
We're gonna find out. As far as positional wise, there he's played right tackle almost entirely, almost exclusively. There did do 37 snaps of it at left tackle back in 21 with need be. Obviously, we're going to talk about him later on, but Notre Dame also has a very, very well established left tackle as well. So it wasn't necessarily that he can't play left tackle. It's that there was no need. You have potentially the best tackle in this draft coming up here, already manning that position. So 13 games in 22, 12 games in 23 with a 71.1 PFF grade. So not the best grade. This is that guy, same as we talked about some other positions. You're getting this guy for what you think he can be, not for what he is. This is a potential pick there. Pros wise, long arms, good punch, best at pass pro. And that's the interesting thing, is most of the guys that are project, the pass protection is where they have their issues. This is not that guy. This is more of an anchor guy. Like, you sit him in the right spot at that point, he's going to just sit there and not going to be able to get past him. The problem is, eventually you go to the run game. And that's where he has his issues, because he's stiff. He has some balance issues, especially when he's moving. He does not pull very well at all. He's also got issues where he's just not that second level guy. So, like, that's your scheme where, okay, guard gets this guy, right tackle, you go to the next level, you take out the linebacker. Like, this is not your guy for that, because he's not very fast. I would not be shocked at all to see him actually go into his position again. Kind of talk with Puny there, but not because of what he can or can't do, but because he's just so raw, going to a guard position, eventually popping out to tackle again. I haven't seen anybody else mention that, so I don't know if that's just me being crazy and thinking out loud when I should shut up. But it's just, he's got a lot of need for help to learn some stuff there. And 20 years old, you give him a couple of years to learn, this guy could be a steal. He really could be. I'm kind of almost shocked that he didn't stick around one more year and try to get some left tackle experience at that point and see what happens there in Notre Dame, because again, their left tackle's gone, obviously, in this draft as well. I put Blake as a 3rd or 4th round. Again, you're getting him based on potential, and it all depends on who's drafting, and are they going to be the guy to say, you know what, I see the potential of this guy, or go, you know what, this is a deep draft, I don't have to draft for potential.
Could be.
Yeah. I think most years he's a 3rd round pick all day long. It's because of the depth of this where he's going to kind of sit for a little bit there.
That's fair. Yeah, I know. I agree. Like you said, he may be able to go to left tackle in the NFL, but I don't have college tape on it. You're looking for potential, so it's like he could
And he's
probably
got to
play.
fix that run game. He's got to fix that run game.
Yeah.
He,
Which,
and
like you
I
said,
don't know.
which is a good point. Like you put him in guard, you could be a little more stiff at guard because you're kind of stuck.
As long as you don't have that kind of
over to the right.
system where you have a lot of zones and you know, and we or you know, screens and that kind of stuff. They're like, he's just not going to be him. It's not what he does. So you got to accept what he does well and accept what he doesn't do well at the same point. You know. But again,
So you're
it'll
saying
be a project.
go to San Diego or
I'm saying it's a project.
Vegas.
All righty, number 11. We have the start of the string of names that I wish I had Rob be the one to do the listings of. Because oh my gosh, guys, there are some names in here that I had to phonetically spell it out here on my notes here because yeah, just good luck with some of these. That's for sure. There he is, Karan Amagaji. Okay, here we go. I got it out. Amagaji, 6'5", 318 pounds, left tackle. Except in 21, he did play left guard as well. And coming out of Yale, so he's got a brain on him. Smarter than me and Rob, that's for sure.
I was going to say he definitely pronounced his own last name.
Yes. Played 10 games in 22. Played just 4 in 23. He required surgery to deal with a quad injury he had this year. In those 4 games, 89.5 PFF grade. That's pretty goddamn high. But again, keep in mind, he's playing Yale. So he's playing Ivy League schools and all. He's not playing SEC and Pac-12, and again, he's not playing the tougher. But it's still legit college football. So it's kind of like you drop it down, but you don't necessarily drop it down too far. You drop down maybe the low 80s. You figure because the difference in competition if you had been in with everybody else. But at the same point, you can sit there and go, okay, well, maybe if this better competition, he would have the same, and he would have elevated his game. Like you just don't know. That's where part of these problems come with these small school guys. Pros, quick feet, pulls very well. This is a very agile guy for his size. This is definitely that second level guy. We talked about, Blake Fisher a minute ago, not being able to be that guy to go take out the linebacker in a run game. No, this is a guy that takes out the safety if you need him to. Like he's that kind of quick. Cons wise, small school, obviously, like we said, needs development because he's still, keep in mind, played left guard in 21. So he's played 14 games now at tackle. That's still pretty raw. The other thing, and this is going to sound weird, grip strength. Now, we all know, let's all be adults here to say we all know that everybody cheats and holds on the offensive line. I know it comes as a shocker to you guys. It's against the rule book. We all know everyone does it. The good guys don't get caught. This is a guy who, unfortunately, because his grip strength isn't the best, you see guys peeling off those holds. Those holds, as I use the fake quotation marks. So that's one thing he needs to work on. And I guess I think a lot of it really is going to be just him point blank, getting reps, getting time. And if you were to take out just purely based on size and athletic abilities, he would be a first round pick. He's that kind of abilities there. This is again another very high ceiling kind of pick you're picking. And it's not high ceiling due to any other issue except the fact that he's inexperienced and didn't play at the biggest school. But athletically, he's there with anybody else in this draft. Size-wise, he's there with anybody else in this draft. And obviously, intelligence is not an issue. Or he would have been booted out of Yale long ago. Yeah. So, yeah, I like the guy. I think this is a guy that could surprise some people in the NFL, actually, and end up being one of the steals at the draft there. But he could also be that guy who never develops and is the worst pick in the draft. It's just he got that high floor, high ceiling, low floor, high ceiling pick. So if you want to take a risk,
I have faith he'll do his homework and excel.
I don't dispute that, and that's actually weirdly enough one of the reasons I like him is because you don't get into a school like Yale by sitting around. It's not just like you play football, you go to Yale. That's not the way it works in Ivy League. Ask Ryan Fitzpatrick. He wishes it worked that way. He would have had a lot better teammates. He was at Harvard. But yeah, that's just like I said. I think this is a guy that is worth taking a flyer on. I think he'll end up being. I think it'll even be a second to third round. I can see someone going late in the second and saying, you know what, there was a run on tackles. This is the guy I feel most confident left. I'm going to take my spot now and not risk not being able to get somebody next round, because there are going to be always guys who need tackles. So that's life.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like you said, he's got the Yale, so if we joke around about it, but he's got the abilities, the natural talents, and he's also got the but he's got the smarts along with the abilities. Like, you could teach a lot of things to this, this player. He'll definitely play. Sorry, got me sidetracked. He's got the looks. Try not to laugh. But yeah,
what was that shampoo commercial? I did that. I can't remember the shampoo commercial now.
I don't know. But long story
obviously,
short,
she's got the look, the name of it. But
like Ryan Fitzpatrick, was he the best in the league? No, but he had a long career in the NFL.
Yeah, no. And listen, you're not expecting best of the league in the second, third, fourth round. Like you're expecting hopeful starter.
Was he the most talented? Did Fitzpatrick have the most abilities? No, but he had the march and he had the hard work to put the time in to be better with different systems. Now you got a guy with way better abilities. So yeah. I feel like like I said, the ceiling on this guy is pretty high.
Yeah, like you said, I'm pretty good with this guy. I think he'd be a guy worth taking a shot on. That's for sure. Again, if you needed a tackle, and there's the other guys we're about to talk to being available, which is possible. There's going to be a run on tackles in this draft. I'm telling you, like same as we talked about it during the wide receivers. There's always a run on wide receivers. I think there'll be a run on tackles too. I really do. But I think you'll see a good amount of them go the first couple rounds here.
Oh yeah.
All right. Speaking of the small school guys, number 10, Patrick Paul. What was in the door? You opened the door. It's a ghost. It's a ghost.
He's so scary.
Patrick Paul out of Houston, 6'7", 305 pounds, just 23 years old. Plays exclusively at the left tackle positions there. 13 games back in 2022, 12 games in 23 with an 81.1 PFF grade. Pros wise, good length, strong, good anchor. Cons, small school. That's part of that. Again, Houston is not exactly the biggest school in the world. And that 81.1 PFF does scare me just a little bit with that because of that. I'd like it to be a little higher because it's a small school. He's playing that. Footwork is definitely an issue. Technique as well, and just not a second level guy. He's not as slow as Blake Fisher we were talking about earlier, but he's definitely not that guy you're sending after the linebacker in a run attack, because if you are, guess who's going to be wide open for the tackle? That's just the way he's going to be. I do think he's going to be a second round kind of guy, and I think again it's going to be partially because of that fact that there's going to be that run. And I think there's going to be like I really think the second round could potentially have like 6 tackles. I think it's going to be that kind of second round. And Patrick Paul definitely is up there in that category. As long as people like the tape enough and look at it and go, you know what, I can fix this, I can fix that. I like this, I like that kind of scenario. He's a guy that you're going to see when somebody needs a left tackle or needs to, even draft somebody to eventually take over the left tackle in a year or two. That's the guy you're going to look at. So not a bad pickup he would be, that's for sure. I think after what happened with Tank Dell there in Houston, I think people have a little more respect for, the Houston players, I should say, what happened with the Texans specifically for Tank Dell.
Yeah.
People have a little more respect for Houston, even though, Owens didn't really work out so well for us so far, but,
that's
see what happens. We'll see what happens. All right. Number nine. Oh, yes. Another guy that I'm going to have to be very, very careful on the pronunciation there. Kingsley Suame. So played the last 2 years over at BYU. Started his career back in 21 in Oregon. Crossed over the Oregon Trail into Utah and went to BYU. Did not get dysentery. No malaria, no dysentery. I'm not sure how many wagon wheels were repaired or replaced. So
how many horses died?
He's an interesting guy because this is a guy that you have to have, to me, the offensive lineman coach that you really trust. This is the I can fix him guy. Every draft, every position has an I can fix him guy. That's what Kingsley is. Plays either side, played left tackle in 23, played right tackle in 22, so you got the versatility there. Played 12 games in 22, 11 in 23 with a PFF grade of just 67.5. Not very good overall. And a lot of his issues was technique. And this is another guy with technique issues, but has the natural ability things you can't teach. He's got good anchor. He's got good foot speed overall. He's got push and power at the snap at that point that's good and quick. But he's got technique issues, and he's got a bad short area burst at that point. So these are things that if you think you can fix him, and you look at the size, and you look at some of the stuff you like on tape, you're going to take a shot at him. And there are some guys who I've already heard talking about him as a first-round pick. I think he'd be a complete bust in the first round.
I see Tennessee taking him in the second round.
Yeah, I mean, I see him as a potential bust candidate in general. But again, this is another high ceiling, low floor kind of guy. If you can fix him, he could end up being a really good player for you. And BYU and Oregon, no offense to them, but they're not exactly known for developing NFL talent on a crazy basis at the offensive tackle position. This is not that kind of school. So you go there and you go, okay, maybe with better coaching, we can improve these things. And it's a valid point to think. And I do think that's something they can look at that point there. So if you want a project, you like this project, then you're going to go for him. And I think, like I said, again, first or second round, he's going to go in. He should go in the second round, but we'll see how much people like his tape and how desperate people get for a tackle.
Yeah, I mean, what are the Titans? Where do they go in the second round?
I don't know. You're supposed to remember the Titans.
I forgot about the Titans. Denzel, man.
Denzel. I want to say they're like
mid,
like 12 or something like that. I'm gonna look real quick though.
I was trying to look real fast as you're talking.
Just for you. Oh, dude, they're right after us. They're number 7. They're actually lower down the board than I thought. So yeah, I don't think that's where he's gonna go as Tennessee. Not unless they trade back, because there'll be some guys that much bigger, names available. Unless they go one in the second round, he's still there. I don't dispute they need help on the offensive line. I don't think this is the guy they go with. I think they go with one of the top 2 guys or 3 guys that we have here.
Well, I mean,
because they're all going to be probably available at number 7.
Well, did it
doesn't matter who they like?
Well, I'm not saying the 7th round pick. It's the second, not the first pick, but the second round.
Yeah,
like if they could get him there, because didn't they pick up the Bengals offensive line coach? Didn't he go over there because his son's that coach?
You're talking about the Browns. Brian Callahan.
Yes, the Browns. Why did I think Titans?
Bill Callahan is the father. Brian Callahan's the head coach.
Oh, yeah. Callahan.
But yeah, I mean, listen, I would go there to heartbeat if I was offensive line. I'm like, teach me the ways.
Yeah.
Young Jedi. Because that's always a good spot to play when you play that position, is with Bill Callahan as your offensive line coach. So, yeah. All right, let's take a look here. We got next up number 8. Oh yeah, number 8. 8 is great. We got Tyler Guyton. Played the last 2 seasons over at Oklahoma. Played 2 seasons prior to that over at TCU. So he's been traveling around the panhandle area there, so to speak, of the Oklahoma area. I remember TCU, I think, is pretty high up there. I don't think that's one of the lower schools in Texas. Now I'm wondering location-wise. Let's see here. Oh, never mind. I take it back. It's in Fort Worth. It's nowhere near the northern part of Texas.
No.
It's in Fort Worth. Listen, I don't pretend to know the smaller schools. I know TCU is kind of a bigger school lately, but I'm sorry. You're a bunch of horned frogs. I can't. Yeah.
And plus, Texas is like the third of the size of the United States, so it's all right.
Plus, there's like 20 goddamn schools.
It's true, but you just kind of made the mistakes from like, New Jersey down to like West Virginia.
West Virginia.
Take me home.
Country road.
Take me home. Yeah.
There's a Jack in the Box right here. Nice.
Oh.
Never had Jack. There's also a Smoothie King there. I want a Smoothie King now. I do like a Smoothie King. Smoothies are good.
Smoothies.
Anyways, as I get distracted looking at a map of TCU.
And food.
6'6", 306 pounds, 22 years old. Played right tackle almost exclusively. Did play 70 snaps at left tackle during his career. Here's the issue. This is the medical flag guy. This is who this guy is. He's got injuries literally every single year. So yeah, I think this is the guy that I personally would take off my board in a heartbeat because there's so many good tackles. Why would I take the risk on a guy who's had injury issues? But I can see where somebody would say, you know what, I like the way he plays and I want to go ahead and keep this guy anyway. I think the medical is fine. I think it's bad string of luck or whatever the case may be, 10 games is what he's played the last 2 seasons each. Had just only a 63.7 PFF grade in 23. And a lot of it's because injuries. Injuries were holding him back there. He was injured before he was even deemed injured at that point. He was that guy trying to play through. Quick feet, natural traits overall. The cons just go into point blank. The injuries, the need to add weight, the fact that he's raw. When you miss injuries time in college at that point, you miss time to grow. You miss time to develop. You miss time to become what you can become. But people are going to look at his tape overall and look at some of the good stuff, think they can fix things at that point, and he'll go probably first, second round. But I'm telling you right now, there's players we're going to name here shortly that people have rated better than him. I will not do it point blank because of the injuries. I can't, in good conscience, sit there and say that. And maybe I'm just a biased Giants fan because we deal with so many goddamn injuries on our end. But I've
always said,
yeah.
I can't say how many times I've said it, but the best ability is availability.
Yeah. And he's not that guy who's out for the season or whatever all the time or something like that. I don't want to make it seem like that, but he's that guy that's, kind of like a Dory Jackson. He's going to miss 3 or 4 games a season at that point. Just have to kind of accept that as part of who he is and what he is. That's where he's at. Let's take a look here. We're going to go here to number 7 after this break here. Let's pay the bills real quick and go ahead and go through a couple comments here.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
Oh yeah, let's go through the comments here. We got El Capitan. What's up, man? It says hello, running Raph in the building. Missed you guys, man. Good to see you, man.
Hey, doing, Raph?
Connor says, sorry I'm late. Was watching Shark Tank. Fell asleep. LOL. I guess it wasn't a very exciting sales pitch there.
Yeah.
He said something about decomposing bodies. Yikes. Whoa. What's going on there? Wow. That's, yeah.
Selling to the mob.
I don't know how you're falling asleep during a presentation about selling your decomposing body business, but okay.
Yeah.
Seems like yeah. Unless it's like one of those companies that, like, instead of getting buried, you turn you into a tree.
You'd be like Ben Stein reading the advertisement.
Oh my God. All right. Number 7. Number 7. Here we go. Marius Mims, 6'7", 330 pounds, 21 years old. Played primarily right tackle. Injured his hamstring over running the 40-yard dash at the combine there. Missed games in 23 due to a high ankle sprain that needed surgeries. In total, played 14 games in 22. Played only just 7 games in 23 with a 75.6 PFF grade. This is going to be a little bit of deja vu here for you guys here. We're going to talk about injuries again. I can't stress this enough. I don't care how much talent you have. If you can't stay healthy, I can't put you towards the top. Especially for a guy who only really played for 2 years. Like, you missed a quarter of the time that you could have been on the field. I'm not trying to blame the guy that, we all have injuries. Things happen when you play sports. But you couple the injury he had during the season with the hamstring injury he had at the combine, and it makes you question some things,
What kind of shape is he going to be in?
Yeah, I mean, is this a recurring issue? Is this him just being out of shape in general and not prepared for these things? I mean, these questions do pop up, and we don't have the information to say yay or nay to that. Because let's be honest, if we did, he might be higher or lower based on those answers.
Yeah. Take him in the 5th.
Yeah. Pros wise, good speed, handles the edge very well. No one gets past him on the outside there. Strong, very well footwork there and movement. The cons for him is just injuries. And again, he's just very raw. So this is a guy that, again, you have to feel comfortable developing. He could, assuming he's got no health issues, start automatically at right tackle. But you might want to help him out with a running back or a tight end that side, at least until he gets kind of more adjusted and gets a little bit more things going there. Because with that rawness, there's going to be technique issues. There's going to be issues in general. And, some people need to learn that way by just being thrown out there. And he might be one of those guys. We'll find out there, and they have to kind of get that read on him. I think he's most likely to go in the first round. I do think he should be looked at as a first round, second round kind of guy because of the injuries. But I think someone's going to see the raw talent and the size and the fact that he did well at the, SEC level at that point and go, you know what, I want an SEC guy. This guy faced the best of the best, and he did good. And I can get it. I can get that to a certain degree.
And just like we were saying, it depends when that whole train of when the tackles are going to start flying off the board.
Yep.
Moore is a very high end second round pick just because of his injuries.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think you're to see Mims go. Like I said, I honestly think it's the first round. I think you go in the first round. I think it's going to be somebody who's towards the end of the first round needs a tackle, needs a tackle to start, has a hole, and goes plug, done. So, we'll see if that's the right move or not. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Number six.
Good thing.
All righty. Number 6 is Troy Futanu out of Washington. 6'4", 310 pounds, 23 years old. Again, played left tackle, has some left guard experience. Some people think he'll be better off at guard. I think he'd be that guy that you start off at the tackle, see what he does, and kind of, if you need to move him inside, you have that option. But, he's that guy that, depending on who you talk to, they'll have different ideas for what to do with him there. So,
and depending on where he goes and what the needs are.
Exactly. And you can see some people that point blank draft him to be a guard. Even though I think, like I said, you got to leave those options open, get him into camp, see what he does, see what how he handles himself, and take it from there. So again, mostly left tackle in college there. 6'4", 310 pounds, 23 years old, does have some left guard experience in college as well. Pro wise, very physical, very aggressive, good punch. Cons wise, he does tend to lunge a little bit on run plays. Like if he's trying to get to a guy to block him at that point and he's not quite there, he's going to lean forward a little bit there to reach him. And that's a very bad move with some guys, because you do that to the wrong guy, they're going to take that step back, or they're going to hit you on the shoulder and knock you on over at that point and get past you.
Yeah.
He's got footwork that's pretty good as far as getting his foot into placement the second the ball gets snapped, but his hands are just a little late at times. and he doesn't necessarily have the best anchor. And I think some of that is the fact that while his feet are quick, they're moving around at the very beginning. He's not quick to set them. He's quick to move them, but not necessarily to set them. So that's technique issues that, you got to hope you can fix. Obviously, he played in a very pass-heavy offense in college as well. So that's part of what gets me with this guy as well, is obviously he has some abilities or he wouldn't be able to last at Washington. Played 14 games in 22, played 15 and 23 with a 75.1 PFF grade. So not too bad, especially in that pass-happy kind of, area he's in there at the Pac-12. I think he's first or second round kind of guy. I do think he's probably better, same as I mentioned with Mims there. I think he's better as a second round kind of guy, especially if you think he might be better as a guard, which some teams may think. But he's a good talent to have. I think he's going to be a good starter in this league. It's just a matter of where he ends up starting.
Yeah, and like you said, it's one of those guys that you talked about how he lunges sometimes. You talked about his bad anchors, bad at anchoring, like his hands up, his hands getting up late at times. That's all technique. That's nothing that's with the right coach you can't fix.
Yeah, exactly.
And work.
Yeah. No, yeah. Obviously the work part, and that's on him in the end. So, and by all accounts, he's been a very good hard worker in college. So, all right, number five. This guy could end up being a steal in the draft. I really think that he's a player who's improved every single year. 6'6", 312 pounds, 22 years old, plays left tackle, played 10 games in 22, played 12 and 23 with an 83.5 PFF grade. Great run blocker, athletic as anything, and improved each year. That's one thing I love about watching this kid. Every single year he's gotten better. Cons wise, he does have a little bit of shorter arms. So that's going to scare some people off from having him play the tackle position there. But I think in the end, he's where he should be at that point there at left tackle, as long as it doesn't hinder him in the NFL. You got to get these guys in camp and see what they do against the better score of people there. Because even in camp, they're going to face better competition than they ever have in college. One thing to keep an eye is the medical too in this guy. Tore his ACL at the end of 22. So again, it's been a little bit of a while, so you got to think everything's okay at this point, but you still want to check it out just to make sure there. So
this guy's one of those guys that you bring him in, you put him on camp, like he may be your starter week one. Like
he, honestly, I could see him starting, and I could see him starting tackle or guard. I really do.
One or the other, especially like depending on where he goes. Like I just said this before about Troy, but you pick him up to be a tackle, but you may want to develop him. He's got the talent. He's got the small arms. Let's put him at guard, give him the NFL experience against some of the tougher talent that he's played against, and then sophomore year move him over to tackle.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, that could be very well. Again, my only issue with him, I don't think it's necessarily the technique and that stuff. It's just a matter of, do you think his arm's long enough? And there's some guys who have this square peg, square hole routine where it's like, I think you need to have this to succeed, and I don't care what you show. You're a guard because your arms are a little shorter. You do see that kind of mentality. Frankly, I couldn't give a damn about measurables too much at that point. Do they help? Sure they do. If you have longer arms, obviously they help. You have more weight. Do they help? Obviously. But all I care about is how you end up working on Sundays. If you 100%. Have the technique to get around a shorter arm or a little bit later of a body or something like that, then go for it. Who cares? That's all that matters.
Yeah. Did he do his job? Did he do it well?
Yeah. I don't care how he does it.
You could be 400 pounds with T-Rex arms as long as you do the job right.
And the nice thing is, it's not like speed. We're talking about speed with some of the other faster, positions like wide receiver and corner and stuff like that, where it's like, okay, where they're going to get even worse as they get older. Like your arms don't get shorter as you get older. Either you can get around this issue or you can't, You're going to be a little T-Rex tackle or you're not. So, yeah, I guess, unless you're JPP.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Next up, number 4, and this is going to be the shocker, I think, of this group here for you guys here. And there's going to be a lot of people who will disagree. Oh, yes. Number 4, Olu Fashanu. This is a guy that I'm telling you, most people will have number 2 on their list. Some people even have number 1. We got him number 4. So this is kind of the one pick in here. I think most people are like, whoa, wow, really? And honestly, what it just boils down to is it boils down to the tape. I just wasn't as impressed with the tape as a lot of people seem to be. At a Penn State, they're 6'6", 313 pounds, left tackle. Had a right thigh injury during the combine as well, so we kind of don't have all the numbers from there as far as what he could do physically. Very athletic, good footwork, but has some balance issues there. This is not the guy that comes in clean 100% foundation ready to go. And don't get me wrong, you don't have to be. I'm not suggesting he's going to be a bad player necessarily. But you can't be in this kind of draft considered the top or second best tackle when you have issues. You got to be pretty damn good. You can't be, that kind of guy at that point there. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. So I think in the end, I think he's going to be a good player, but I don't think he's necessarily going to be as great as some people think at that point.
I mean, he definitely shows the flashes of talent, but like you said, he hurt himself at the combine. He missed a couple games. He missed a game last year. He missed 5 games in 2022 due to injury. So that's something you got to take into concern. If you're going to draft and make this your guy, like, you want to make sure he's going to be able to play.
Yeah. And, but what I'm just getting is again, there's issues. And again, can he overcome those issues? Sure. But if he doesn't come over some of those issues, it's just not going to work. And I think people look at his size, and he's a guy who really looks amazing on the field in a uniform. There's some players that just look at him and go, that's a football player. That's an offensive tackle. Like, this guy looks at it like, if you're playing defensive end, this is the kind of guy you don't want to see. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. He's an oak.
So, yeah. So, that's where I'm at. So, yeah, but in the end, like I said, I hate to put it like a number 1, number 2 when you're not perfect. You're not ready 100%, Like, you're just not there.
Yeah. You go number 1, you better be starting, stealing the job 100% from the get-go.
Yeah.
And, I mean, do we have an update on his thigh? Like, do we know what's going on?
I haven't heard anything yet. And,
so,
that's where I'm, yeah.
Is he going to be able to come into camp 100% ready to run? Show what he's worth?
I haven't heard anything, but again, for me, the issue isn't even the injury. I'm not worried about a thigh injury in the combine at that point. What I'm just worried about is the fact that he's not 100% polished.
Yeah,
in a class with a lot of people that are polished. Now, again, could he be a better player than some of the guys we're about to mention? 100% he could. But it's not guaranteed to be. Not that there's many guarantees in the NFL in general, but in the draft.
Yeah.
But this is not the guy that I can sit there and say, oh, yeah, he's definitely better than these guys. He could be. He could be much worse. So that's where I'm at there. He's got to get some of the issues that I see on tape just kind of fixed up there. A lot of it is just, like I said, balance, his technique, it's things like that. But he's got the athletic skills. And again, this is that high ceiling, low floor kind of guy. So I'll put him in that elite category, the top 4, but I can't put you at 1 or 2 when you got issues like that. I just can't do it. All right. Number 3.
Trace.
This is a guy I don't think gets enough love in this draft. And I think it's just so many big names here. J.C. Latham out of Alabama, 6'6", 325 pounds, 21 years old. Played right tackle the last 2 years, played right guard back in 21. As far as his pros, he's strong. He's got a great anchor, great punch, great run blocker. Like, this is quite possibly one of the, if they're not best, run blocker in this entire draft. He's that good. The only issue he has, really, and again, this is something he's got to get taught. Why I can't put him at 1 or 2 like I really want to, because I like him that much. He gets beat sometimes with finesse. And it's not all the time, but every so often he gets a guy who's really, really fast, spins around him, gets that good swim move, and he's gone. He's got to get better at that. And I think he will with time. I really do. But I think that this is a guy that you're going to see drafted in that first round area that's going to do very well. And like I said, you're going to see, Fuaga, we just talked about being a top 15 pick probably. And this guy could very well be a better player. I think he is more likely to be a better player. He's a little more polished, I think, in my own mind. We'll see. Like I said, I know a lot of people are going to bash me on the Fuaga thing. I really do. So
yeah, it is what it is.
There's a lot of people that love him. But yeah, J.C. Latham is going to be that guy. I think that he's your plug and play right tackle if you need one at that point there. Or if you really want to move someone in at that point and move in the right guard, he's played it before. But I think he's good enough to play tackle right off the bat. I think he's good enough to be a starter right off the bat. I think he's a guy that could be that guy that takes that job and just never gives it up.
Never gave you up.
Never gonna let you down.
Turn
round and roll tide. Oh yeah. Number 2.
Dos.
And there's another guy I have so much, I think, higher than everybody else. I really liked watching the tape of this guy. I really liked a lot of what he does as far as technique wise. And this is that guy that overcomes what he was given in life with hard work and technique. And that's Taliese Fuaga out of Oregon State, the Beavers. 6'6", 325 pounds, 21 years old. He'll be 22 years old in April though. So he's a right tackle. Pro wise, gets to the second level, fast feet, really good in screen blocking. He moves a lot better than he would think a guy 6'6", 325 pounds. That's for sure. But overall, he's still not the best athlete. He's quick, yes, but he's not that turn of the dime kind of quick at that point there, where if you need him to go ahead and shift real quick because somebody's getting open on the other side at that point that needs a little help or something like that, he's not that guy. He does over pursue his block a little bit, gets a little bit of tunnel vision on one specific guy, and he needs to work with his hands. His punch is not the best. But what is really good, again, is the tape. I love the tape in this guy here. 13 games in 22, 13 games in 22, 12 games in 23 with an 88.2 PFF grade. That's a really high PFF grade. Again, this is a guy who is playing in a part of college football that is known for passing, and more passing. This is a guy, I'm telling you, I think this guy is going to be like, people later on like, how do we not see this guy being so good as he is? And don't get me wrong, he'll be a first round pick, but he might be the third or fourth tackle taken off the board at that point there. Yeah. He might, and to me, he's the second best one out there. I just love the tape. I see so much good things on there. I can't get past that tape. And I didn't expect him to go this high. I expected Olu to be number 2. I just hated his tape. Didn't like it. I'm a lot on the tape. Don't get me wrong, I love potential for a mid to late, round pick. But when I have somebody going in with the, a first round pick, I want a home run. I need a home run. It's a first round pick. That's supposed to be the best of the best of the best of the best, sir.
This guy, the best of the best of the best, sir.
This guy needs tissue. Old or something. I love Men in Black. Such a good movie. But yeah, like I said, I think he's a guy that I think someone's going to get him, and they're going to feel like they missed out on who we're about to talk about, and Olu, and potentially someone else on top of that. And they're going to get a guy who's just as good as these guys potentially. Like I said, we'll see. I could look like a total moron in a year or two, but we'll see about that. I think that this is an offensive line group that I think some of the guys just don't have a good, handle on who really is the best in this group here. Except for at number one. I think we can all safely say that number one, most people have correct at that point there. Let's start them off with number one. Number one is Joe Alt out of Notre Dame. 6'7", 280 pounds, 21 years old, left tackle, but started out actually as a tight end at Notre Dame, and they converted him over to a tackle. Pros, exactly what you'd expect at somebody who comes from the tight end group there. Athletic, fast, great at pulls, creates lanes in the running game at that point. Cons, exactly what you'd expect is somebody that's a little bit later weight-wise than he is. Can get pushed back by a first punch and occasionally bet some bad pass blocking reps. But again, those are nitpicking. Most of those I see occasionally. I mean, like maybe one a game or something like that. Like nothing crazy at that point. You know what I mean? Like this is a guy who's a top 10 pick, and he's a guy that's going to be he's going to be worth a top 10 pick. I do think I still want him to put a little weight on. I haven't seen many people say that part of there. I still like to see a little bit. I think he's a little bit light for where he should be at that point. But he's just a special athlete for where he's at that point there. And you know what? I just realized somebody missed up my notes there. It's not 280, 322 pounds. But I still like to see him get a little more poundage at that point there. I like to get him at the if he can get to like that 230 range at that point there, just a little bit more to get to that elite size, because he's got everything else elite. Got elite height, elite speed, elite, so much other stuff there. Just a little bit more in the size, I think, would help him out there.
Just not to compromise with his speed.
No, and I don't think that would, because you're not talking that much weight. But this is a guy that you look at him and you go, okay, great tape for years over at Notre Dame, which, Notre Dame plays all over the place. Obviously, they're not part of one of the particular conferences there, but they play some good talent throughout the year. He's a guy who was put in the spotlight because it's one of the bigger football, programs in the nation, and he's excelled. And he's hands down considered the best talent at that position there. So, yeah, if you need a tackle, you're going to take him immediately. I mean, and I could have swore before the Chargers made the moves they made a wide receiver, cut loose their two big stars they've had for years. I could have swore that's where he would go. 100% could have swore that's where he's going to go and shore up that offensive line. Now, I don't know where he goes, to be very frank. You mentioned Tennessee. That might be the spot, because you look at overall, again, we've talked about it before, quarterback, wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. So, yeah, I mean,
with the
Tennessee,
Vikings,
Atlanta, Chicago,
I could see maybe I could see the Chargers pulling back. Maybe because what the Vikings did, maybe they switch out spots because they're looking for a quarterback. Maybe, but yeah, Tennessee at number 7. If Joe Alt falls that far back, Tennessee is probably where he goes.
Yeah. I mean, you can see a lot of places. You can see Atlanta as a possibility. You can see Chicago. You can see even the Jets. I mean, the Jets have signed a lot of guys to play tackle, but they're all 1-year deals. So it's a matter of, do you feel okay with maybe sitting a guy for a year behind, a guy like Smith, or do you want to let him fight with Morgan Moses for the right tackle spot? I mean, there's a couple of options you would have if you drafted him in New York. They're always just, potentially the best swing tackle in the NFL.
Potentially,
I mean,
no
that's where he could be there. So yes, that's our top 15 tackles there for you guys. Let us know in the comments section if where you think we're crazy, where you think we're sane. Probably more crazy than sane. See what you guys think overall on these players there. Let's go into some Giants news though before we go. So we do got some Giants news to go over too. It's still listen, we're still making moves. Not much, but we're still making moves there at that point. So it is time.
It's time for the news.
Oh yeah, so Giants news here. So Isaiah Hodgins re-signed with the New York Giants. We talked about that when we didn't tender him. We said, it's not uncommon for teams not to tender somebody and then bring him back at a lower number later on. That's exactly what seems to have happened there. So puts him in line to be a camp body with no guarantee. And, considering he's been 2 years as offense, it does give him an upper hand where he'll probably be a bottom level receiver at that point for us. The nice thing is we go into expectations that are realistic for him next year. People thought he was going to make a number one wide receiver last year and everything. I don't know why. It's going to get a stretch. But we called it this in the offseason last year, said he's going to be the biggest disappointment potentially of 2023. Obviously, we were wrong. The biggest disappointments were Daniel Jones and the entire offensive line. But yeah, that's where we're at. But yeah, glad to see him back. He works well in the offense. He's still a good piece to have at that point. So I'm glad we got him. I just don't think that we need to have crazy expectations of him this year. Be a backup wide receiver, get a couple 100 yards, and earn a paycheck and see what happens next year. That's where he's at.
That's a fair statement. Because we talked about it extent last year, like how. Yeah, he's crazy not going to be our number one. He shouldn't be our number two. We're probably not even our number three.
Number 4 or 5 receiver. That's what he is.
Yeah.
And if you look at how we are right now, that's where he's going to basically be. You got Slayton, you got Wan'Dale Robinson, you got Hyatt. That puts him in number 4. And if we get another wide receiver in the draft, there you go, number 5.
This is my 5.
Exactly. So, other news, we did sign Matt Nelson. We talked about him there on our previous episode there, former Detroit Lion. Again, plays the right tackle position primarily. Bounced back and forth between a starter and a backup. Mixed reviews, had some really good games, had some really bad games. So we'll have to see what he does overall, in camp. But this is going to be a guy just fighting for a job in camp. That's all he is.
Never trust a man with 2 first names.
Exactly. In other news, we didn't free up some money there. Sexy Dexy, Dexter Lawrence, who also has 2 first names, by the way, restructured his deal and freed up $7.5 million in cap space there. Now, the Giants could have freed up even more on his deal and still could. So, listen, I hate to be the guy that is negative in any way, shape, or form. But I'm going to give you guys a little tea reading. We freed up $7.5 million. That's basically we have enough money to have a little bit of wiggle room during the season and to go ahead and sign our draft class. That means that we have no more money to sign anybody else. Unless the Giants perhaps knew that we're potentially getting $6.7 million coming off the books soon. And what we mean by that is it makes me wonder if the Giants are thinking that Darren Waller is going to retire and we don't need to worry about freeing up more because we're about to get more. I don't know that. I have no knowledge of that whatsoever. Let me be very clear. This is pure speculation.
Sometimes there's writing on the wall.
You can also, though, go ahead later on and make that move again with Dexter Lawrence. There's no limitations on how many times a year you can go ahead and, restructure your deal. You can do that every single day if you want it to be boring as hell, but you could. So we'll have to see what happens over time there, guys. All right. So
here's a little crazy scenario that maybe is a possibility. I don't know. Probably not, but maybe put it in the back of your hand. I mean, what if there's a team out there that didn't get their quarterback in the first day of the draft? Maybe they trade for Daniel Jones. Probably not.
I've actually seen a lot of rumors to that, honestly. And the only way I see that making any sense whatsoever, the only way, and I don't think it's going to happen, is if Daniel Jones restructures his contract for the trade to be going through. And
maybe he goes to Minnesota. I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. No, Minnesota won't pay him $40 million. That's the thing.
No,
So what I'm getting at
they
is
just
like,
pay Kirk Cousins that.
let's say you change it up and say we're going to give you $20 million a year, and you sign here, restructure this contract, and now we'll trade you. That's what I mean. That's what would have to happen, and I don't see that happening because who's going to give up $20 million a year?
But when you restructure, you might get more time. I don't know.
It's a risk. Something... It's a risk. It's a risk reward thing. But yeah, I don't think he's going to do it. I don't see anyone ever doing that. I think the NFLPA would have such an issue with that. It's not even funny. I think other players would have such an issue with that. It's not even funny. I really do. This is not like Russell Wilson when he screwed over the Broncos on purpose because it was funny. This is a guy literally screwing himself over and not doing what's right for him and his family necessarily, and securing long-term wealth like that of getting $47 million for the year.
Well, that's not what
NFL
next year.
And that's what he's getting this year. And then another $27 million next year. So why would he give up that kind of money? Doesn't make sense. All right. We'll be back, guys, again for you Monday.
Monster Truck Monday.
And guess what, guys? I was thinking about doing things a little different, but I'm going to switch things up a little bit. Monday, we're going to do running backs. I know you guys love talking running backs. We need a running back potentially because we got one signed. We got Saquon gone. We're going to start a committee apparently, and the committee's a little short. So wouldn't shock me at all if at one point we go ahead and get ourselves a running back that's much better than Eric Gray, which is not saying much. So, yeah, keep an eye out on that one. Now, again, running backs is not a huge class this year. Like, this is not like it was last year. I think we did top 20 or 25 last year. Like, we went a little nuts for running backs. This is not that kind of year. We might even do just top 10. We'll see. We'll see how it works out. It's that thin of a draft at running back, but there are some really good names out there still at that point. There's also some names of some guys coming off injuries that a potential that as long as the medical is good, you go, wait a minute, this could be a stud if he's healthy. You know, there's some of those guys. So we'll go over that with you guys there Monday. And of course, as always, guys, we are live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter /X, Twitch, Instagram, and of course, Rob's favorite,
Drew's LinkedIn page.
Oh, yes, my LinkedIn page. And, of course, we're always available the next day on all the audio podcast platforms, usually up around 5 o'clock in the morning. This one, since we are recording on Friday, I might just post up live automatically at that point. So those of you all go into the club tonight.
Listen to us on the way home.
Yeah, listen the way there, listen the way home at that point there. Well, still listen to work if you have to go to work tomorrow as well, like me. So appreciate you guys always for listening in as always there. We'll see you guys again Monday. Of course, again, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, our normal time there. And then, of course, have a happy and safe weekend here. And as always,
March Madness.
Go, G-Man! Go, G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.